Okay. I think we're good to go. So I am on the Singularity test server. We're going to be trying out the new player experience that's just been launched for testing. The dev blogs went out tomorrow. There were 3 of them. One of them was just like an overarching, hey, here's the plan, here's the new stuff that's coming. Number 2 was about the new skill queue and sort of what that looked like, how it was going to work. And then number 3 was going to be like, what does the new player experience look like? It seems like from a lore perspective, it's all being housed under the new corporation Air. I don't recall exactly what that stands for, but I guess we'll find out. Hopefully the game will explain it to me when I go through the new player experience, and we will find out. So I guess I'm gonna spin up a new character. What? Oh, that's a weird green bar. I wonder if that's a visual bug or like a highlight or something. We'll find out. I've done Mimitar before. I've done Amar before. Let's get a taste of freedom. Let's do Galente, shall we? So I'm pretty sure that this is all still the old Empire overview. Oh, that's a nice sound. Definitely the audio's been redone, I think. Or maybe the last time I went through the new player experience they didn't have the audio. But we're gonna go with Galente. And lists. Let's do... Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's do a blonde. Let's use less of a blonde and more of a brunette. We're just gonna spam random. Do we have a random button? Yeah, I definitely think there's some visual graphical bugs happening that might be my graphics drivers. I'm not sure. Alright, where's the random button? Random. I like that. It's like a female version of my current character. Yeah, let me change the hair color, and this will just be like the female Artimus. Hang on. That's eye color. I want hair. There we go. Alright. Looks good. Name. Artimus Albosa. There we go. I definitely think all this green nonsense is some sort of graphical bug. So would you like to begin your journey with the tutorial? Yes, that's explicitly what we're trying to test.
New Eden, a universe brimming with possibility. Do you have what it takes to explore the far reaches of space, carving out a name for yourself among the stars, to become a titan of industry, amassing wealth, power, and prestige as you rise above your rivals, to prove your worth in combat, cementing new alliances and vanquishing your foes on your path to glory? For the rare few, immortality awaits. With the Association for Independent Research's Capsuleer Training Program, you can become the architect of your own destiny.
Warning, warning. This station is under attack. Missiles en route. Brace for impact.
Keep star exploding. Alright, here we go. And random cut to black with all the sound going away. I definitely think that is a placeholder video.
Captain, I am
because
Aura,
the resolution
your
was
AI
all sorts of
companion.
messed up.
Though I would have preferred to meet under more serene circumstances, rest assured I am here to help. A baptism by fire is certainly not what Air had planned for your first day in a pod. The cloning facility in which you began your new life as a capsuleer is under attack. The station's hull integrity has been catastrophically compromised.
Aura's voice changed? I know, like, during that video, the narrator was certainly a voice-to-text thing. I could tell by the way that it was going between its words. I think this one, though, is a proper voice actor.
I'm unable to identify our attackers, but they are not currently targeting our capsule. This gives us time to locate a ship. Your pod may be able to fly through space, but like all capsules, it is unarmed. A proper ship comes... Now, let's get a better look at our surroundings.
I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should have waited for it to tell me, but I'm glad that it, like...
There is a ship still capable of flight.
Did contextual
An Astero,
stuff.
no less. A fine ship indeed.
Click on
I
the
have
highlighted
highlighted
ship.
the navigation section of your display. Use it to approach the ship.
Okay, so it like hides sections of the UI from me if I don't need to see them. Definitely if you're a new player and you first see the full EVE UI with all the text boxes and the spreadsheets, it's a bit confusing.
Our shields
It's a
took
cool
significant
animation.
damage in the attack.
Okay.
The armor is also in need of repair.
I would love it if it, like, when it says shields and armor, if it would, like, highlight, hey, our shields took damage, or our armor took damage, or put some sort of ring down here so I know to look at it. Because otherwise I'm just staring at the ship model, which was what was just animating, and I'm not, like, sure this thing just appeared, but there's no guarantee the player would know to think, oh, this represents my shield, this represents my armor.
I believe the appropriate idiom for this situation is, we're screwed.
What are you talking about, Aura? Have some faith in me.
Fortunately,
Come
the
on
cavalry
now.
has arrived. Ships bearing air transponders are approaching our location.
Okay, this is really starting to get on my nerves. What in the world is air? Like, you've mentioned air before, but I don't know what they are. Interesting cinematic. Okay, now what do you want me to do?
This is Balin Ferris,
Okay, it just goes
Commander of
automatically.
Security. All ships evacuating this cloning facility are advised to rendezvous at emergency coordinates.
I guess I'm evacuating? Where are the emergency
Several thousand
coordinates?
civilians appear to have survived the attack. Let us make haste and join the fleet Commander Ferris is organizing.
That,
Your overview will display the ships in your vicinity.
it seems like this pop is not considering where the aura pop-up is when it's determining where to appear in the screen. Like, it definitely takes into account where my overview and such is and tries to avoid them. And my ship, but maybe it should consider aura as well. Select the ship in the overview and click approach. Okay, well here's the problem. I did not change my settings to go default. Okay, now I can see him because I'm in the default overview settings. It explains in the dev blog what air is. Yeah, I understand that it explains in the dev blog, but if you're a player and this is your first experience with EVE, is that something that should be explained?
Your
I
vessel
don't know.
looks like
Maybe
it's
it's
seen
maybe it's
I'll
a
repair you once you're in
choice.
range.
Okay. Good
Commander
to know.
Ferris, were you able to determine the identity of our attackers?
Negative, Aura. Their transponders were cloaked and their hulls lacked any identifying information.
That's interesting that their transponders were
I'd wager this was
cloaked
an
and we
act of
couldn't
corporate
identify
espionage
them.
turned violent. There are a lot of people in New-Eden who want to get their hands on Air's technology, whatever the cost.
Ship stopping. So my ship just randomly stopped. Does that mean I've actually stopped, or is that just part of the normal approach? I would love it if there was a little voice thing that said, hey, I'm targeting you now. Because we saw that little yellow reticle and everything, and we've got these new
Thanks to
UI
Commander
elements.
Ferris's repairs,
But there's no,
our ship
like,
is
telling the
almost as good
player,
as
hey,
new.
this is what's
at
happening.
his command, we will proceed
Maybe
to
that's
the emergency
information overload.
coordinates.
I'm not sure. You'd have to do some A/B testing. Did they give you the Astero or did you buy it? They just gave it to you. So the station exploded. There was a bit of a cinematic, and then we spawned in a capsule, and then there was an Astero floating in space, and Aura had us fly over to it and board. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't end up blowing this Astero up before our tutorial's over, but we'll find out. Command, we will proceed to the coordinates. Continue.
All ships enter warp formation.
Formation. Are we gonna do a fleet formation warp? That would be cool. I love the purple. The purple and the pink, like the color scheme here is awesome. Very much a departure from classic Eve, which might be why I like it, because it's so novel.
Warp drive.
Could really
active.
screw with prices if they don't blow it up. Yeah, I would agree 100%. Oh, where did the rest of this fleet come from? And where did our Osprey go? Panic selling 10,000
We've
Asteros.
now arrived at Air's designated emergency evacuation zone. We'll be safe here while we regroup.
Okay. So we're safe.
A spot well chosen. This location's cosmic abnormalities will mask our warp signatures from detection.
Interesting. What is that? What is that? Is that a nag?
But our appreciation of New Eden's natural wonders will have to wait.
It's just an anomaly.
Captain, I could use your help. My sensors are picking up a strange signal nearby, but my forces are stretched thin defending the civilian fleet. The cosmic storm likes to play with our sensors, so it could be nothing. But after that attack, I'm not taking any chances.
Approach the signal source indicated on your display. Okay, so it's flashing in my overview and it's got the circle in space. So it's definitely something that I would notice to click on, and then I know how to approach because it told me before. Maybe like a timed thing where if I haven't clicked approach yet after 30 seconds or so, it sort of, and I have it selected, it highlights the approach button. Might be helpful. Because I've been shown approach once, that doesn't guarantee I'm going to remember where it is again. Is the back of the bowhead always that funky? I do love that we're going past it so we can get a nice view. I love those deck lights. That is really cool. Are we really going to slow boat 50 kilometers, or is something going to happen between now and then? Because that would be some really crappy
Initiating
pacing.
scan of unidentified signal.
All right, that's some good pacing. I like how
Captain,
long that took.
hostiles inbound.
Where? What?
We have to defend those unarmed civilian transports. All ships equipped for combat.
What are you
form
talking
up around
about?
me.
There are no hostiles anywhere that I can see. You're saying hostiles inbound. There's urgency. You got to get back to what's his face's ship, but I don't see anything anywhere that would cause some alarm. Feels like I'm missing something. Is something broken?
My sensors indicate that these are the same ships that attacked the cloning facility.
They're using D-scan. D-scan or combat probes. They couldn't warp in on you. Well, I guess they could warp in on you.
Several frigates are breaking away from the pack. They're targeting those civilian ships.
Wait, is that
This will
Daredevil
be your
using
first combat
blasters?
experience as a capsuleer. Time
Select
to show
the
these
enemy.
hostiles what you're truly...
Orbit the enemy?
We're too far away, Captain.
I'm not
Thankfully,
sure.
our
I
ship is
like that
equipped
they're
with a
using
module
the
that will boost our
different
speed.
things here. Maybe that's something they did in A/B testing. Thankfully, a module equipped to boost our speed. Okay.
Activate the afterburner module highlighted on your display. My database of ancient idioms contains a phrase appropriate to our situation. Drive it like you stole it.
Okay. So it is not highlighted. That might be a UI bug. Maybe it's supposed to be highlighted.
We're now
but Aurora
within
says it's
weapons
supposed
range.
to.
Lock your target.
Wait, when did they go back to pluses? Yeah, I'm not sure about the pluses either. Lock onto the enemy. My Astero was fit with the following.
Target lock confirmed. Time to hit them where it hurts.
Okay.
Fire at will, Captain. Make sure to use both of your guns.
Left click both turret modules to open fire at the enemy. Leave them active.
That's it, Captain. Let him have it.
If I look at you, what do you look like? I don't see any special skin other than these turret effects. What's with this blue and red? I wonder if that's just a special effect for the sake of making them more visually interesting during the tutorial. I mean, it certainly has that impact. I think they turn blue when it stops shooting and they're red when it is shooting. You can't adjust orbit distance either. Maybe it's just because I've got my orbit set up differently, or my
Well done, Captain.
profile set up differently.
Now orbit, lock, and fire on the remaining hostiles.
Pretty locked down, but I managed to break it at least twice. Yeah, I've seen screenshots of people breaking it. I'm not gonna actively try to break it. I'm gonna like follow through what it tells me to do and comment on like what that experience is for me. So right now, like this view would be incredibly frustrating if I was a new pilot. I'd be like, I can't see the enemy ship that I'm shooting at. And then I try and move my camera, and that's kind of cool, but eventually they're gonna orbit out of my way. It might be interesting to have a default setting where that camera is offset from the center of your ship, so that whatever you have selected is sort of like in a cinematic follow camera or something. I forgot to target. That might also be something worth mentioning if the player hasn't locked the new target, but they try and click their guns, or it gives a reminder saying, hey, you need to lock up that target before you can fire on it. Try to shoot the bowhead. Try to shoot the bowhead. I shot it. Nothing happened. It's locking me back though. Oh no, that's Ferris. So Ferris is repping
Marvelously
me this
done,
whole
Captain.
time.
Combat can be
Bowhead
such a
did nothing,
glorious
I guess.
experience, especially when you're winning.
Your frame rate was low, with everything orbiting like crazy. I do
Another
have
hostile
a
ship
pretty
incoming.
powerful computer,
A cruiser this time.
although I think there's some
It's
driver
larger
issues.
and better armed than those frigates. What an
'Cause I'm getting
exhilarating
weird
way
green.
to test your combat abilities.
Laura, we need to have a chat about your random pauses. If you were on a podcast with me, I'd be giving you some feedback afterwards. Come on now. What do I need to do here? It's larger than everything else. What an exhilarating way. So you want me to target. So when it first showed up, it was out of my targeting range. I couldn't lock onto it, and I was very confused about what I needed to do, even though like I'm an experienced player and I know I theoretically need to approach this thing. Another player may not know, and they may just sit there outside of targeting range, or the button might not appear and then they get lost. Maybe I'm overestimating the stupidity of somebody, but who knows. Also, why am I looking at this ship? I don't remember looking at this ship to begin with. Again, with the really cool red lasers. Approaching head-on against a cruiser is a bad idea. DCP, what are you teaching our new bros? It's interesting that there's no ammo in the turrets. Oh, there's civilian, that's why. Okay. It's always been the case that civilian guns don't use ammo, they just use cap. Even like the civilian autocannons will use capacitor. Which is a simplification made to not overwhelm new bros, because they get confused about, I have guns fit to my ship, why can't I kill anything? Because they don't understand what ammo is yet. Push continue, by the way. Is it gonna tell me more things? Hey, there it tells me to orbit. Yep, user error. Way to call it, Higher Brand.
Now's your chance. Activate the webifier.
Okay, so I'm webbing the cruiser, but I didn't web the frigates. Certainly a new player isn't gonna care, but it bothers me.
Good job, Captain. You've got potential.
Why, thank you.
Shit. 2 battleships breaking away from the enemy fleet. They're
Man, I
stopping
love
most
that
civilian
glowing.
transport from warping away. Watch your
CCP,
six,
let me
Captain.
have those
They're
skins,
bigger and
please.
badder than anything you've fought before.
Especially because I legit think that it changes based on whether they're shooting or not. Like, what determines whether it's blue or red? What do you want me to do, Ferris?
We can use electronic countermeasures, ECM, to break the battleship's lock on the civilian transport.
Okay.
Doing so means the battleship will be able to target only one thing. Us.
So the client automatically had me look at this battleship, and it's left me in the look at state on the battleship even after the cinematic ended. Environment looks great. I would 100% agree. This is less cool than the purple and pink from the previous station, but it is still really awesome. Doing so means
There
the
is no
battleship
other way
can only
to save
target
those
us.
civilians.
I like that they added
They are
that
not
mention.
capsuleers like you. Their deaths will be final. Yours will be a learning experience.
Okay. Hostile battleship. Select the enemy. So I'm gonna... It took me to look back at my ship. Reminding me to select it. Reminding me to orbit it.
We'll do what we can to keep the other hostiles off your back, Captain. Focus on your target.
Once we deploy the ECM, the battleship will begin firing upon us. Remember, you will have a fresh clone waiting for you once your current body is violently destroyed. Engage the ECM now.
Yep, they're gonna kill the Astero.
That's it. The final group of civilians.
Once again, I
has
think a
escaped.
highlight around the
Done good,
module
Captain.
itself would be helpful. The way Aura talked and when it was talking about the afterburner suggests to me that that's something they're gonna add. It just isn't in there yet. Look at the yellow trail off that Matterall. Okay, so he's locking me back. Now he's got me webbed and scrammed. The audio's a bit glitchy here. I'm not sure if that's my audio settings or something on my end.
We're taking heavy fire,
Why are there
Commander
two battleships
Ferris.
now?
Once our ship is destroyed, the pod will soon follow.
A null brain training
According
simulator?
to my calculations, our destruction is 99.99%
You're not
certain.
wrong. I mean, same thing with incursions though, right? Like, realistically speaking, it's an F1 monkey trainer. But F1 monkeys are in every area of space. Even you wormholers. Don't act like you haven't been an F1 monkey in a wormhole fleet before, sitting in your little shack just following the broadcasts. Why is Ferris not repping me? Like, Ferris, you're still here, you still have me locked, why are you not repping me? This doesn't fit with the story. Like, I get you want my Astero to die for the sake of the training, but for me, seeing Ferris just making this conscious decision not to rep me instead of warping out like the rest of the fleet is obnoxious. According to my calculations, our destruction is 99% certain. Well, I'm gonna shoot back. I don't think I'm gonna end up killing this thing. Yeah, it's got way too much HP. Also, look at the background. I think this is a completely separate ship. They made a new ship type specifically for this tutorial, because that's not the normal Matterall background.
I won't be able to reach you in time.
Heat the AB? This is a new character, so I don't have thermodynamics. I can't heat the AB. Oh, so Ferris was trying to save me. And now he's saying I can't get to you because they have me pinned down. Oh, you know what? I bet you... Yep, that's it. Alright, it was... The green screen was not a driver issue. It was a problem with me and my settings.
You fought well today, Captain.
Why,
This is
thank
a
you.
warrior's death. Luckily for you, it will not be your last.
It's a warrior's death. Interesting. Getting blobbed by two Matteralls in my frigate is a warrior's death. That is a very Eve thing to say. I'm running out of cap. I wonder if it's possible to cap yourself out. I wonder what would happen if, for whatever reason, you screwed up your transversal so bad when you were shooting at those frigates that you ran out of capacitor and then you can't fire anymore or your AB doesn't work. That could be a potential way for people to get stuck. Also, there are all these things out here that are in space but not on my overview. That's weird. Oh, they got my pod now. Oof. That noise and that does not look good. That is way too bright. There's a cargo container? It's my loot, but no salvage. Come on, you can't put a wreck in there? Like, okay. That's being nitpicky, but I would honestly prefer a wreck there. That's what the every player is gonna see in the future when they kill a ship. A wreck is gonna spawn. Let's not get them confused from the start by showing them a cargo
death is
container.
not an end. It is simply the beginning of a new adventure. As always, I will see you on the other side.
Can I zoom in on the butt? I can't. Unlucky.
Welcome back to the world of the living, Captain. I hope your death was not too uncomfortable. Your neural data has been transferred to a fresh clone body. But before you stretch your new legs, someone very important would like to meet you.
Very important, huh?
Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Vesper Calatrix, Air's Vice President of Operations. Commander Ferris spoke highly of your courage under fire. You went out with quite the bang. Since your ship was destroyed in a blaze of glory, Air would like to provide you with a new one.
Okay, I heard a notification ding. I'm not sure if the stream picked up on that. I don't know where that came from though. Maybe they're hiding my notifications. Panel. Yeah, they're hiding parts of the UI, so I probably got a contract or something.
You can now board the ship provided to you by Air. Try not.
I do hope the new vessel is to your liking. This particular model is quite popular with Capsuleers. Air owes you a great debt for your bravery and sacrifice.
Okay, so the chat heard it. Passably the last thing they want to see is their wrecks before the pod pops. Could be. I mean, the cargo container was there, though, so they're seeing something.
So great, in fact, that I've thrown in an extra module at my own expense.
Oh.
If dying means getting gifts like this, you should consider doing it more often, Captain. That was a joke. I prefer you alive.
Okay.
You can access items in your hangar, like modules, from the Neocom.
From the Neocom. Okay, so I click on the Neocom.
I have highlighted the section of your Neocom that will allow you to access your inventory.
That's confusing. So they showed the icon for the E, and I click the E, and then I don't know what to do. But I knew to click continue, and now it tells me to go at the inventory. So maybe the Neocom sidebar or something. Like that E tells me to click this. That E doesn't tell me the whole bar over here.
In your item hangar, you will find the objects currently stored at the station at which you are docked.
Did you get the default insurance payout? Great question. Transactions. Nope, just the 5,000 inheritance, which is what every new player gets. 5,000 ISK. Access your item hangar.
Now, let's take a look at the module Ms. Calatrix has given us.
I love that name, Calatrix. I also really appreciate the voice acting. I'm pretty sure, like, that initial intro video, that was 100% AI generated with just somebody's recorded voice and they pieced together the words. These, I'm pretty sure Aura and Calatrix were voice acted.
A small armor repairer. An extremely useful gift. As you well know, New Eden can be a dangerous place.
Used to repair your ship.
Well, I'm sure you will have many more exciting deaths in your future. Maintaining your armor might allow you to enjoy life in your current clone body just a bit longer.
Okay, so they talk about maintaining my armor here, which makes sense because I'm a Galente pilot, so I want to maintain my armor. But in the tutorial, I was in Estero getting shield reps. I'm not sure if that could be confusing for someone. Definitely right now, if I'm a new player, I'm not really sure what's the difference between armor and shield.
You can
Probably
fit the
not
module
worth
to your ship by
discussing yet,
accessing the fitting window from the
intro
Neocom.
video is going to be replaced if you didn't say that already. Right on, good to know. I expected the intro video would be replaced because it was like incredibly low resolution and just had red flashing over top of it, which was amusing. Okay, we're being taught how to fit a
your
ship.
current ship's
Nice.
equipment, stats, and attributes. Now would be a good time to examine your ship's attributes.
Think you got both shield and armor Gith Estero? Fair enough. Is gift the term that we use for both shield and armor? Reminds me of Gish from like a D&D perspective.
Let's fit your new module in a free slot.
Which I guess is kind of fitting. Click and hold the small armor repair in your inventory, then drag it to your ship in the fitting window, and drop it.
Module fitting confirmed.
I can't use it though.
Now, bring the module online. It appears you do not currently possess the skill necessary to use this module. Hardly surprising.
SAR 1 and
you still have much to learn.
That's a good call, yeah. Because you'll probably get a bunch of just like free mods that you can reprocess and sell the minerals. If the new players are taught how to use the market. I think that's some feedback that players gave to CCP in the past, which is you really need to teach folks how to use the market during the tutorial at some point. Because people would run out of their starter mission ammo and then just not know what to do. We'll see if they fix that.
I'll send the necessary skill book to your AI right now. Under normal circumstances, you would have received a basic skill set as part of the Air Capsuleer training program. Your training was violently disrupted, to say the least.
Laughing at my destruction. Okay.
No
I like
need
you,
to apologize,
Calatrix.
Miss Calatrix.
Calatrix,
The situation is easily remedied. Captain, you can find the skill book in your item hanger.
Just follow the directions. I don't want to follow the directions. Who actually follows the directions in the tutorial?
By rewiring their neural pathways. The skill book contains the mapping data required to perform such a feat.
Okay.
Skill books are consumable. Once we inject it into your neural interface, you will be left with nothing but a new and improved version of yourself. Augmentations such as this are one of the many benefits of life as a capsuleer.
It's a weird way
Absorbing
to
the skill
describe
book's
skills.
data rewrites the neural pathways in your brain, teaching you the skill. This process can take some time.
Hover your mouse over the skill book and then select Inject Skill.
We will begin the process by accessing the skill queue from your Neocom.
Click the skill queue window. So this is a part of the new skill queue AI. I guess we're going to see it. I was hoping to go into it a little bit later, but I guess we get introduced to it right up front, which is good from a tutorial perspective. Bad from a Artimus wants to do structured content perspective. Air, why do you say, oh, it's the skill plan?
Now, you must begin training the skill.
Whoa! We have two thingies. Click Add Skills to Training Queue. Open the air skill plan. So this one never disappeared. I think we found a bug. This was the previous one where I had to click on the air thing, but it was still talking when I clicked it, and so it didn't disappear.
To speed the process along, I've gifted you
Yeah,
with
now
a
it's just
skill
permanently
injector.
stuck here.
It's the least I can do, considering
Now,
the
you
role
must
you
begin
played in
training
saving
the skill.
thousands of lives.
I could just have her repeat that over and
Now,
over.
you must begin training the skill. Now, you must begin training the skill. Now, you must begin training the skill.
That's great. Okay. We're gonna leave it minimized and see what happens. I've been gifted a skill injector. Okay. Starting him off on the
To
drugs early.
finalize the skill
All right.
injection process, be sure to confirm allocation of its resources, most commonly known as skill points.
Unallocated skill, but I don't have them. Click the Apply Skill Points button to confirm or to apply the allocated skill points. I'm clicking it, and it's doing nothing. I think I have to actually use the skill injector? No. Expert systems. So it gave me 2500. I think I have to start my skill queue before it'll let it. Literally the least I can do. It's in your inventory. It auto-applied 2500 skill points though. Are we sure it's in my inventory? It is. Okay, so it needs to tell me to go back to my inventory. I didn't even see a red dot. Like, I didn't even see a red dot on my inventory saying, hey, there's a skill injector there. So that might be something to take a look at. There's no... Okay, I guess there would be a default. Hang on. Let's restart this. So if I hover over, because the last thing I did when I interacted with an item is I hovered over it to inject that skill book. I've now got a skill injector, but when I hover over it, I don't see anything. If I left click on it, nothing happens. If I double click on it, okay, now I can use it. Might be worth having a hover over inject on the skill injector as well. You're about to do the skill points, press confirm. Okay, and now I can add them. Press confirm. See, but I have to select my skills first? Is something broken? You're about to apply 0 skill points to train the following skills. Can you trade it? That's a good question. I should have tested that before I used it. I'm betting not. Or if you could, it would be like labeled an exploit, sort of like the daily alpha injectors are. Add skills to training queue. The skills are already in my queue. Right over here. If I hit start, I can't start it. Oh, because I have... Man. That's why. I have Artimus as another character slot on this account who's currently training. And so it probably... If I go out, I'm 99% certain that if I exit, it's going to delete this, like delete everything. But it's weird that it won't let me apply these skill points. I definitely can't start, but I've applied skill points on a character that isn't training actively. So I feel like something's just broken here. The skills are already in my queue. Yeah, it was a bug. It was a bug.
You should close these windows
Skill
as well.
training completed.
Okay. I have the skills. Close this skills window and the skill points window. Alright, CCP. I'm a new player. You're telling me I should close the skills window. There's a close button. You're telling me I should close the skill points window. There's no close button. There's an X, but it's in the middle of the screen instead of in the top right. I could click this again.
Now that you have the required
works.
skill, try activating the small armor repair module once more.
Small armor repair module.
Very well done, Captain. Your ship's modules are now online. Knowing how to train skills and fit modules is an essential step in your journey as a capsuleer.
Yes, it is. Very
But
true,
several
Aura.
questions remain. Who attacked the cloning facility?
Does it bother anyone
What
else
were their
that Aura
motivations?
disappears and reappears every time you cycle to a new window? Like, I would understand if they're switching characters from Aura to What's-Her-Face, but if it's just Aura and we're cycling to the next thing, it'd be nice if she stayed there instead of disappearing and reappearing. I'm a competent welder now, indeed.
Our investigation is still in the early stages, but I have 2 theories. The attack may have been motivated by simple greed.
Okay.
There's no shortage of competitors who would kill to acquire AIR's groundbreaking cloning and capsule technology. Literally.
Might be laying into the
A
sauce a
more
little bit too
worrying
much there.
possibility is that someone out there is trying to stop us from pursuing our research. While AIR prides itself for being a disruptor of New Eden's tech scene, there are those who think we push the limits of innovation too far. The technology suppression laws in New Eden are draconian, if you ask me.
Interesting. Okay, so they're both like saying, hey, people could be greedy, and then they're also saying there could be some sort of moral back end to this where there's right and wrong and people think it's wrong and etc. etc.
I
Which is not
trust you will
typically
keep us
part of the way
updated on
Eve
the
is described,
investigation, Miss
unless you get
Calatrix.
to like a particular empire like the
Captain,
Amara
you'll
and
want
the
to keep
Mito.
your wits about you once we're back in space. To that end, I highly recommend closing any unnecessary windows on your display. It would be a shame to lose our lovely new ship because you didn't see the danger flying towards it.
I love that. This is wonderful, yeah. Close the fitting window and inventory windows. So it might be useful to like have a pointer saying, hey, here's the X button, or hey, you can click these icons again to close them. Probably the player could
I wish I
figure
could
it
do
out,
more
but
for you, Captain. But I'm a busy woman and I have
if
places to be.
we're pointing
What
out
I can do
literally
is
everything
put you in
else,
touch with contacts
might
of
be
mine
worth
who can
to
help you
point out
grow
the exit
as a
button.
capsuleer.
Ah, a perfect opportunity to familiarize yourself with the agency.
Continue.
The agency is your window into New Eden and all the cluster has to offer. As a new capsuleer, you are the architect of your own destiny. You could unearth secrets hidden among the stars, or prove your mettle in the field of combat. You might even be New Eden's next great business tycoon. The choice is yours.
I appreciate that they're laying into the business tycoon thing, because I get the impression a lot of players start EVE because they want to be business tycoons. They want to be managers of everything, which would be nice. Snake Doctor, glad that you could check in when we're live. If it's the time zone that's an issue, we are live around this time every Sunday, 1600 EVE time for the Sunday show.
The contacts
welcome.
Vesper suggests can be found on the Career Agent's card.
Career Agent's card, okay.
I suggest you take a moment to familiarize yourself with what each agent has to offer. They specialize in business, industry, military combat, and exploration. No matter what path you choose, you will find a career agent that can help you walk it. Once you've decided which one tickles your fancy, as the saying goes, set your destination.
Okay. So if I were still, again, with the notification ding that I can't, where is it coming from? That would really bother me if I was a new player. I'm like, what is this ding? Because I can't see the little notification thingy. There's a really good chance that half the players are used to just, okay, follow the prompt, and so they aren't going to click around to see what the different ones do and just end up in the business path. And if I'm being honest, the business path is probably the most boring path. So why would somebody do that? Okay, chat. Which career? Which career do I do? Can I set up a poll? Is there a way for me to do a poll real quick? There probably is a way, but I'm not really sure and I'm not going to bother. So I'm just going to judge it. Or whoever says it first. Fastest typer. Advanced combat. Higher brand. There is... Oh, there is advanced combat. Can I do advanced military before default military? I don't want to break it. So I'm going to go with industry, which is the next one. The next recommendation from Snake was industry, so I'm going to go with industry. Or do I want to go with military? I'm really curious. I want to come back and test this a second time to see if they'll let me do advanced military. Like if it'll give me a prompt and say, hey, you should probably do regular first. Let's do industry.
Be sure to close the agency before we depart.
I love that it's reminding me to close windows.
Stay safe out there, Captain.
Military,
if our
go for it.
investigation uncovers any additional information on the
Stupid
attack,
Twitch stream delay. I'm sorry, Snake Doctor. I'm sorry, Elkindh. But we're going with Indy.
Much appreciated, Miss Calatrix. I await any and all updates with bated breath. Metaphorically speaking, of course. I don't breathe.
This is very corny humor, and I personally appreciate it. I don't know about the Zoomers, though.
Captain, when you're ready, we can undock and begin the next phase of our journey.
Click undock.
I do want...
Oh, I cut her off. I thought she was done. We need to talk about the pauses, Aura. I can appreciate if you're trying to be, like, calm and soothing, you wouldn't want to put a pause in there. But
now that no one is actively
trying to kill us, I think you're done talking when you're not actually done.
I will teach you how to navigate in space. First, select the destination I've highlighted in your overview.
Renin, okay.
Now, initiate jumping to your destination. After that rousing introduction to New Eden, it's nice to be in space without the threat of imminent peril. Though this is New Eden.
You can do them all
often approaches
simultaneously.
when you least expect it.
Oh, I see. There was a question. Can you break career agents by flying into other faction starting systems? And the answer, thank you very much, Higher Brand, is that you can do them all simultaneously, so it doesn't break anything. which is a good thing to mention. I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, help me out guys, you can run the career agent missions for a faction if you've tanked their standings. I think I had to do that when I first started out because I was doing just regular combat missions, but shooting, it would have been the Amar Empire, and so I tanked my Amar standings, and the strat was you go and do the Amar starter missions because they don't have a standings requirement, and that will quickly build up your Amar faction standings. Okay, yeah, Highbrand confirms it does give you some faction standings. I'm not sure how it is relative to like Sisters of Eve if you choose a particular Sisters of Eve version. After that rousing introduction, continue jumping to your destination. Okay.
Warp drive active.
I'm not sure if the player would know to click on the yellow one necessarily. Like, I mean, it's yellow, you'll probably notice to click on it. But the last one was flashing blue. Not standing, sometime must pass, year or more. Oh, interesting. Now we get to the rear Eve. Let's do some autopilot. I can't do autopilot. They hid the buttons. I mean, I could
Autopilot
control
engaged.
S,
Autopilot
but
disabled.
they hid the buttons. I still don't have my notifications. I can't see D-scan. Like, I can't change my camera view or anything. There's no tactical overlay. CCP, please. Oh, it's because I engaged and unengaged the autopilot. That's why I stopped. I'm gonna say I swore I hit the jump button.
Initiate jump sequence. I don't mean to unsettle you, Captain. Active. You've already proven yourself capable in battle. I'm certain you can handle whatever New Eden throws your way. And if you cannot, at least you are immortal. You can be reborn into a new clone body to try again. I believe this is what humans call optimism.
I love it. This is 100% like toned down dad humor.
Time to land, Captain.
Just barely below
Initiate
cringe
docking
level.
sequence. Warp drive active.
I don't know what it means to dock yet. They explained when I was jumping to another star system, they explained what jumping was. They haven't explained what docking was. I appeared in a station because I cloned into there. But I don't know what it means to dock. Does that matter? I don't know. I have like... I'm using a settings profile that I typically use on TQ. So I've got sounds adjusted, camera shake turned off. So if you're a player who normally plays with camera shake, like the tutorial doesn't modify any of your typical settings other than hiding bits of the UI.
To contact a career agent, you must access the agency.
Agency's over there again.
Well
I
remembered,
appreciate the
Captain.
reminder.
I knew you would be quick to learn. Now don't be shy. Begin a conversation with an agent.
Or
I'm
are
sure
you
they will love you.
making fun of
And
me?
if they don't, then they will simply have to tolerate you.
She's like, she points at it, and then I click on it, and then she's, good memory. I knew you were smart. I feel like I'm being made fun of. I need to make a storyline so you can get Droneland stuff. You need to do a storyline where rogue drones claim NPC Sov out in the Dronelands, and you can choose to ally. Oh, so you want to introduce them to Sov mechanics or something? That's interesting. Okay, let's keep things PG in the Twitch chat, please.
Missions provided by career agents offer a variety of rewards,
Okay, there are lots
including
of
new skills, ships, modules,
pop-ups.
and money in the form of ISK. To begin the
Career.
next phase of what I'm certain will be an illustrious career as a capsuleer, accept a mission.
How you doing, Daddy Sleep? Don't forget to put the data sheets in your cargo hold before you set off. Gotta love the old UI. Wait, what is this? Why are you highlighting? Is that, am I over a button? That is weird. Skills modules ISK. I should pay more attention to what Aura is saying. I'm getting distracted. But maybe that is like what a new player would experience.
You've
Just
handled yourself
passive aggressive
remarkably well,
AF.
Captain.
100%.
Though there are thousands of copies of Aura in New Eden, I am rather glad to be your Aura. Have I said too much? My sentimentality protocols may need adjusting.
Okay, so instead of being like one big hive mind aura, it's different copies of the aura training manual, a la like the Matrix, where you plug in the different training modules as opposed to one big hive mind AI. An interesting choice, CCP. I'm doing well. Happy to do this as well. What do I need to do next?
Now it's time for you to venture out into the stars.
She's reappearing and
Go
appearing
forth
again.
and show New Eden what you are truly
The
made
new
of.
part of the tutorial is over, so this is all the regular stuff. I mean, if this is all regular stuff and there's no testing to do, I kind of want to go replay it again and see if we can break things. But before... Whoa, that was an obnoxious noise. Maybe it's just the EQ in my headset, but that ringing was really obnoxious. Okay, now I've got... What were all the notifications? So I got a notification for killing something. I got a notification for unallocated skill points. Killing something again. Yeah, you gotta do something, CCP, about these notification dings, because I got 12 of them during that thing. Or maybe not 12, but definitely some that we noticed, but I couldn't see what was happening. Well, that's all he added to the NPE. Let's consider it, right? So relative to the Drifter one, where they just dropped you in space, I feel like this did a lot better. It was a smoother experience of understanding this is how you approach things, this is like what your UI is, this is the overview, this is the selected items window. Because in the regular Drifter one, if memory serves, you had all of your UI by default. And so it could be very overwhelming from like you just plop in and it says go look for this thing and you don't know where to look. So having the hidden UI, all of the cinematics was really cool. The animations, the backgrounds, I really like that purple and pink like nebula gas cloud stuff. I gotta think that they're gonna redo these career agents. You gotta imagine they redo the career agents, right? Okay, let's pause for a second and look at skill queue, because that was another big new thing with all of these updates. I love that they introduced it from the start. That is fantastic. And I've heard that they're planning on doing corporate level skill plan stuff. Like you'd have certified plans, personal plans, corporate plans, as an example. Which I think is super helpful for new bro corporations or even for regular corporations. The discussion we were having last night on TIS was you can have like a fitting or a recommended fitting for a subcapital like a Munin doctrine, and somebody can pull that up and say, oh, I don't know how to use this MWD, this gun, etc., and go through and get those skills, but then they don't have they don't have the capacitor support skills and they cap themselves out running their hardeners and their MWD. So what we really need to do with a fit is not just have the fit, but also all the support skills that you need along with it. It was also another call out that in addition to these, they should have a Magic 14 skill plan. Like, hey, these are the skills you probably want to have because they'll benefit you no matter what you do. We'll see how they do that. You think by now they'd add a recommended fitting or two for each ship? I think they do that. I think it's the community fittings. Filter skills. Yeah, community fittings. Mining barge. It's not for each ship, but it is just like generally, I guess there are 2 or 3 for each ship, like the low level starter ships. They've got nice. So what is the approval like for community fittings? Community fitting forum last saved. Huh. And they've got the ones from the Eve Academy, and then they've got other ones. I like this, yeah. So they're definitely doing that community fitting part. It sounds like it's all done through the community fitting forum. So if you have fits that you think should be here, go and post them to that community fitting thing. Is an abandoned project of ISD? Are we sure it's abandoned? I mean, this was, I guess that was July of last year. What's the most recent fit to be added? This was 2020. No, this is 2021. Yeah, the Procurer. So whenever a new Academy, EVE Academy thing comes out, it comes with a fitting. That works. Check the forum. All right, stream, you can't see this, so I apologize, and you're gonna hear some typing. Community fitting. Forum. Yeah, they've got it. Let me see if I can change what you're seeing so that you can see this as well. Nope, doesn't look like it. I can add a new one though. Window capture. I want to get Chrome. There we go. There you can see me too. The last ship was January of 2020 other than the EVE Academy fit. So we're saying that we don't add anything. Looks like there was some voting that was locked back in January 2020. Yeah, this is definitely, there's nothing new since January 2020. Interesting. News article. There's no notification saying that it's officially shut down. Okay, I'm gonna hide this, see if I can log in and make a new post. Alright, I've logged in. I can't make a new topic. Yeah, so this looks like this is entirely shut down. That's disappointing. Looks like the last update was May 2nd. Somebody asking for a Zernitra. Come on. Quit trolling. For those unfamiliar, Zernitra is a pirate faction dreadnought for the Triglavians. Super expensive. If you have one, you don't need a community fitting for one. This is a troll. Overall updates are not bad, just lacking in depth and scale. Okay. I can see where you're coming from the perspective of just like, if this is the final product, if this is all we get, 100% this isn't a big deal. But there is not a chance this is all we get. This is going to be like step one, and they're testing it. Like even that intro video is a crappy low resolution, flashing red light. Like this is test bed. They're getting the mechanics in place. Even in the dev blog itself, they said, hey, we've got this new backend system with different nodes that we can manage and adjust around. So as I understand it, the old system, it was one big playthrough. It was all hard-coded. They didn't have flexibility to adjust and add or subtract or reorder things. This is a whole lot more flexible where they can do that. So if this is just, from what I understand, this is just them bringing that mechanic into the game so we can test it, and they can much more quickly tweak and change things. And I can hear you now before you're even typing in Twitch chat. You're saying, CCP and iteration, see you in 2 years. But I'll remind you, like 3/4 of CCP dev time is going into new player experience, last I heard. So the vast majority of their devs are working on NPE because CCP realizes new players there's a crap ton of them coming in, and then they're all bouncing right back out. So this is high priority for them, much more high priority than your nullsec moon mining empire. My way of asking Hoggins for this nature so it can be relevant again. Jaded take, yep. Making this 30 minutes of whatever. Hirebrand, you gotta understand, there's what we as the players see, and then there's the back-end system behind it. Like for me at my work, I don't design systems per se, but I do have a habit of designing databases or processes. Let's go with processes. So we want to do a new thing. I work in HR, and we want to have some sort of ongoing activity where we raffle off a prize for everybody who meets a certain performance metric. We can do that, and the average person would just see, oh, if I reach this performance metric, I get this prize. That's no big deal. That takes no work. But if I've got a building of 5,000 people, I've got to have some sort of system for determining when do people meet this metric, how do I raffle them off, how do I contact the winners, how do I distribute the prizes. Like there's all sorts of back-end stuff. And when you get to the scale of EVE, where you've got hundreds of thousands of players coming in and then leaving again, unfortunately, there's a lot of back-end that has to go into it, not to mention the complexities of just game design itself. So I think you're underestimating the amount of work that went into this system and judging the book by its cover, if you will. You'll definitely have to wait and see how this gets expanded and improved upon in the future, because I think this system is explicitly designed to be able to be iterated upon. Mechanic from Abyssals. Nothing new, Rios only. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, that's entirely possible, I'll admit it. Let's somebody like post a clip on Reddit and then do an exclamation mark remind me, and we'll see in 6 months if this has been iterated upon or anything added or subtracted. All right, let's not argue too long on this point. I do want to talk about skill queue, because as angry as you are with the new player experience, the skill queue is still cool. I love these new skill plans. I got distracted. I was talking about them having all the support skills in there, like, hey, you need these support skills to use this fit. And I love that with the plan itself, you don't just have the skills. I'm going to be honest, I don't understand these milestones, so I'm going to hope to learn a little bit more in the next few minutes. But you've also got a text dump that you can link things, right? So they link the fitting in the skill plan view, which is awesome. But then also, like, you can link, I'm pretty sure one of these has a link to characters or people. This just seems super flexible, so I can imagine all sorts of crazy things that various organizations will do with these skill plans to say, hey, if you want to come out to this system and participate in this gameplay, you need this fit or these skills or whatever. Like, I love that there's not just copy paste this list of skills into your skill queue. There's more infrastructure around it to allow people to really build out more helpful tools. Show skill plan contents. I love it. Add skills to skill queue. I don't meet the requirements. Oh, okay, so you have to have the skill books, and it shows you what skill books you're missing. CCP, please. 7 skill books missing. Let me click this to buy them. Let me click this to open up a multi-buy window and buy those skill books. Or do like, so in the, let me click on the fitting. In the fitting window, you can hit the buy all. Or in the multi-fit window, where there's that hover over and you can see missing items and you can buy them individually. Definitely need to do that. Right click. I'm right clicking, nothing's happening. No joy. I'm betting if I came over here, yeah, so if I come over here, it tries to purchase it. Click to purchase all missing skill books. So it does it over here. Oh, it's down here. We just need to read. There's a big red button. We just need to look at the big red button. There it is. Not enough ISK. I would love it if this button right here, I think it does for the individual skill. Yeah? So this is 97.5. This is 1.8 mil. So this is definitely for the individual skill. This one is for the whole thing. What are your thoughts, chat, about having the ability to add the plan without the skills that are missing? Right? Because right now, if I don't have all these skill books, I can't add it. But let's say I am a member of some big null block or even some low set group, and they have a skill plan in there for capitals. Capital skill books are super freaking expensive, and so I don't want to buy them up front. I probably don't even have the cash to do it if I'm still training all those skills. So what if I want to go in and add this skill plan, except for that last capital skill book? It's going to be the last thing I train anyway. Why should I have to buy that up front before I can import the skill plan? I think we'll need a toggle, like maybe a checkbox, enable import without missing skill books. That way they can do that. Null blocks can worry about their own skill plans and the admin of them themselves. Well, yeah, that's the whole point of the system. Like, that's the whole reason you have personal plans, is so that, and why they're adding corporate plans, is so that a corporation or a null block alliance or whoever can come in and create their own and do cool things with it. Unable to connect. Oh, I got this error all the time yesterday during the show. Something's going on with whatever backend system is controlling this, and it's broken, but I'm sure that'll work out. That's the reason it's on Singularity, to find these sorts of bugs. Aren't the V's checkboxes for the books? The V's checkboxes. So these are checkboxes, yeah. So this says, hey, you've got this skill book. It's already injected. This says, hey, you don't have this skill book. You can click to buy it. Even if you don't have the skill books. I need to see what you were talking about, Lil Runus. You can track your progress on a skill plan even if you don't have the skills. Yeah, tracking, you can see it. It's already doing that here. My thing is, it won't let me add the skill plan. Right? So if there is, what's another expensive, relatively expensive skill? Drug-related skills, perhaps. Some of those get pretty expensive on the skill books. Maybe some industry stuff where you're purchasing skills for T2 production, something like that. It might be useful. So this is definitely something to keep an eye out for. My number one feedback for this, for my own personal use of this mechanic, let me add the skills, even if I don't have the skill books, and just like make it a toggle, make sure I know for sure, hey, you're not getting everything from this plan because you're missing some of the skill books. And then maybe some sort of notification. That would be awesome if you could do notifications where it notifies me, hey, you've reached a level in your skill plan where you really need to buy this skill book now. That would be awesome. All right, what are these milestones? This I don't understand. Right, so it says completing training this milestone, completing training this milestone unlocks the ability to use, and then it's just the skill. I don't, what? So you have to, I don't understand. So it's saying if I skill small hybrid turret 3, then I get to use nothing? Or maybe I have to skill small hybrid turret 3 because it's required for this, but it's not. I don't understand this milestone. Maybe it's an implementation problem. Maybe it's just my personal misunderstanding of it, but I don't get what this does. This I like. So this makes more sense. Completing the use of the milestone allows your ability to use Hobgoblin 1. Total sense. I get that. This makes sense to me. These ones with the gearheads, I don't understand them. I don't understand the gearheads. And this is probably a good time to talk about creating new skill plans. So you can create them from scratch, which is where I think this is going to really like see its own. No matter what CCP does, players are going to do it better. Like, they even mentioned their inspiration for this was Evemon and sharing skill plans, something players have been doing for years and have been asking CCP to add into the game. And it's true not just of Eve, but also of like ESO, Elder Scrolls Online. I think there are some mechanics that happen in, what's the super popular one? Final Fantasy 14? Like, that's a thing where players have done it and then the devs bring it into the game. Like, it's totally just in any sort of MMO, the players will do it better, and the devs should be listening to the players to learn like what features are important. Which is, it's good to see CCP doing this. And anyone who's like, yeah, CCP, players have been doing this for years. Yes, good, CCP, players have been asking for this for years. All right, I'm getting distracted. New skill plan. So here's where we add these milestones. And there are different versions you can add. You can add a ship, a skill, a module, and other items. The skill is the portion that I don't understand. Like having a milestone that says, hey, if you train this skill, now you can fly this ship. Check, I understand. Now you can use this module. Gotcha. Now that you can use this drone or this drug or this deployable, 100%. I don't get the skills. Make a skill plan for high set ganking. Okay. All right. Help me out, chat. What skills do we need for high set ganking? We're going to need Galente Destroyer, because you're going to want to be flying a, let's search, Galente Destroyer. You're going to want to be flying a Catalyst, probably to level 4. What do you think? Any gankers in the chat? What level do you want Galente Destroyer? We're going low barrier to entry, so probably not level 5. We need blasters. Blaster does nothing except for specialization. Would you use T2 guns on your gank catalysts? Yeah, let's use T2 guns. Why not? We're no pores. Small blaster spec. And it auto adds that we need gunnery 1, gunnery 2, the motion prediction, etc. Let's get that up to level 4. Weapon upgrades. Weapon upgrades. Which level do you need for T2? Looks like level 4. Oh, that's adding it to my skill queue. I didn't want to do that. Level 4. Yes? What's happening here? Weapon upgrades 1, weapon upgrades 2. Weapon upgrades 3. Weapon upgrades 4. Okay, because I added it to my skill queue, the UI just got really funky. Void is totally worth. Oh yeah, because the 25% bonus on the T2 damage. Trading, industry-related skills. 100%. I love this specifically for trading, right? So if you had a new player coming in, let me restart. If you have a new player coming in and they want to do something combat-related, you can send them a fit, and then they've got this fitting window. Can I save my progress here? Work in progress, ganker. Ganker, save. Okay, so let me pull up a fit. I link a new bro who wants to participate in some sort of combat, a fit, and they can see these check marks. They can be, okay, I can skill for this. Or, oh wait, I need to train additional skills to use this hobgoblin. But if I have a new player coming in and they want to get into the market or they want to get into production, there is no consolidated, here are the things that you need to participate in this gameplay, like there is if you're flying a ship to do the job. So these skill plans provide what we have been using fitting windows for to new players, for that sort of industry, production, that sort of thing, which I think is awesome. Isn't it just easier to share a ship fit? Yeah, it would be easier if that were even possible, but you can't share a fit that shows the reaction skill requirements. It's just not possible. Okay, let's get back to our ganker skill plan. How do I get back into editing? Pencil. Pencil means edit. So we've got our lasers, we've got our weapon upgrades. We need to be able to fit propulsion jamming because we need a scram. Propulsion jamming, what level do I need to fit a scram? Just level 1, so we've already got it. By default. Maybe we add level 1 anyway? Just in case, because you never know. Maybe somebody comes in with a super old school character who didn't spawn with all these skills. Mechanics, jury rigging. Oh, yep, you need rigging. What do we need rigging for? Just to fit the rigs? Does anybody remember when you used to have the skills, like the specific rig skills to fit T2 rigs? And so the meta was you trade your ship to some old guy who had those skills and they trade it back after they fit the rigs? Pepperidge Farm remembers. What is this skill even for? Why do you need jury rigging? For hybrid weapon rigging. Oh, my bet is we need hybrid weapon rigging because the rigs we want for the damage increase the power grid needed on our blasters, and if you have too much power grid needed for the blasters, then you can't fit the fit. I'm betting that's what Hirebrand is talking about. So we'll trust him, and we'll put that in there. Engineering, Science 4, Energy Management, Thermodynamics. Yep, you gotta heat your stuff. By the way, I love that you're having to come in here and type out all the backup skills, but I can just come in, search my end goal, and it will auto add the prereqs. That's amazing. Prereq for the fitting the rig in the first place. Is it to fit the rig in the first place? Let's look at this. Ship equipment. Are rigs and ship equipment? I'm so used to PIFA. I don't think so. I think it's in ship modifications, right? Yep. Hybrid weapons, small. Come on, let me see. Collision accelerator. Requirements. There are no skill requirements to fit a hybrid collision accelerator. So it's not necessary just to fit the module. The only reason we need it is to decrease the side effects. So collision accelerator, its drawback 10% to your, where is it? At the expense of power grid. So 10% increase to the power grid use of your guns, and you'd want to reduce that to get it to fit. Yeah, it 100% has changed. Which is a fantastic change. Thank you, CCP. Burst aerator over collision accelerator. It does give you higher DPS numbers. And we're doing a catalyst as opposed to a thrasher, so 100% we would want to use the burst aerator. But we're not worried about fits. Hirebrand sharing me the minerbumping.com link. Thank you for the skill plan. I want to do this ad hoc. Ooh. Question. Can we copy paste? Right? So, work with me here. Hypothetical. I'm Eve Uni. I've got archive after archive after archive on my wiki of all of these fitting plans, and I want to import them into our new skill queue UI. Can I copy paste? So I'm going to go open up this link. Does it give me a copy paste skill queue thing? It doesn't. Will Eve, can I find an Eve University skill plan with the copy paste? Because for the longest time you've been able to copy paste from EveMon or from some web page into your skill queue, and it would be great for the people who create these skill plans to be able to just copy. Yeah, we've got one. So that's the list of the skills. Where's the skill plan? There's the fits. I'm sorry, you guys are seeing my mouse move everywhere, but you can't see the web page I'm on. Hang on. There you go. Now you guys can see the Eve Uni wiki. The costs. Day 2. Day 3. Those are the fits. Where's the actual skill queue? These are the actual skill plans. They are set out in a particular format so you can copy paste them into your skill queue. That's what we want. Expand this box to use the skill queue in game. Alright, so I'm going to copy this. Then I'm going to head back into Eve. Can I paste it in here? If I hit Control V, does nothing. So that's a feature request, CCP. For the sake of all of our brethren over at Eve Uni who have been doing this amazing work for years, give them the ability to copy paste their existing plans into this new UI. That was not the fits? What do you mean that was not the fits? Did I click the wrong thing? Hang on. Let's head back. No, this is the expand this box to Villascucu. Yeah, this like missile launcher operation 2, all upgrades 3. This is the skill plan. This is what we wanted to add. So if you're watching CCP, let me copy paste this, take it over to Eve, and then paste it into here. And like the auto populating of all the stuff on the end, that's awesome too. But that needs to be there to help out all of our amazing players who over the years have created those skill plans. So now we can do, I wonder, how do we do this milestone? How do I do this milestone? Drag and drop. Oh, so I can just drop things into it. So if I regional market catalyst, boom. That's easy. All right, and then I want my small burst aerator. Can't be set as a milestone because it has no skill requirements. And then I want T2 small hybrid blasters. Oh. What are the T2 guns called? Help me out. Small neutron. How do you spell neutron? N. Hello? What are small hybrid turrets called? Small lights. Light neutron blasters. And boom, there you go. Now it's a module. This icon I'm not sure about. Like, this is 100% the fitting window icon. I'm not sure about this icon for a module. We'll figure it out. Alright, and then we needed a mag stab. Magnetic field stabilizer 2. Replace milestone. No, I don't want to replace it. I want to add a new one. Perfect. We want our warp scrambler. You guys use T1? I'm betting you use compact. You almost certainly use compact, right? What else do we need? Void? Void comes with the T2 gun, so we don't have to care about Void. Is that it? Oh, we need a micro warp drive. Do you use a micro warp drive on a gank catalyst? Hang on, minor bumping? What's your fit? You don't link a fit? Catalyst, light ion blaster. He uses T1. What's going on here? That for level 5 or level 1? Good question. I don't know. Can you import the ship fitting itself into that skill plan milestone? Great question. Does anyone have the fitting? Minorbumping.com, you're great for some things, but you don't have a fit for me. Let me head back over to Eve Uni and see if I can find a fit that I can import. We'll make a new plan for this thorax. Let's pretend like we're ganking in a thorax now. Do you have a recommended fitting for me? Tank. Vexer. No. Where are the fits? Oh, short skill plan suggested fits page. Nice. EFT. Copy that. We're gonna head back to our Eve client. Where's my fitting? Is the fitting, there it is. I was gonna say, is it not default on the UI anymore? That would be horrendous. Import from clipboard. Eve Uni, you've got the old names. Okay, well, this is a broken fit, and I love that it's a shield rail thorax. That is the best thorax ever. You cannot drag a fitting itself into the milestone. Alright, this might be another feature request. CCP, please let us drag the fitting and then auto-populate the key bits, the modules. Or the whole fitting itself, who knows. E-Uni most recent fits. Thank you very much, Hirebrand. I appreciate that. Oh, there's a workbench, an Eve workbench link now. Man, I don't use Eve workbench enough. Everybody uses it, and I'm just like old, and I still just look at who died on Zkill. So here's the gank catalyst fit. Small polycarb. Man, we didn't need the rig fitting after all. What are we doing? What are we doing? Alright, does this have a skill plan for me? That would be a great addition to this tool, as if it would give me a skill plan. Auto-generate it. We're getting beside ourselves. Let's get back to Eve and talk about one of the reasons I think this skill queue thing is great as an addition to this normal fit, right? So let's imagine you're a new pilot. You see the shield rail thorax, you're like, that's for me. I want to fly the shield rail thorax. I mean, just look at the profile of that ship. If that isn't appealing to you, I don't know what to say. So I want to fly that ship. And I look at this thing and I'm like, okay, I'm missing skills for some blasters, for some railguns. Let's get those railguns. And I get it all fit up. But then I go to fly it, and I haven't skilled any of my support skills for capacitor. So I run my micro drive twice and I cap myself out. Or I try to use my railguns and I can't track for crap. Like, this is exactly why these skill plans are such a huge feature that I think people are misunderstanding, is because you can say, if you want to fly this doctrine, if you want to fly this ship, you need these support skills, and you train them at these times. As opposed to what people would normally do, which is they skill all the stuff to fit the modules, then they go try to fly the ship, realize, oh crap, I don't have these support skills, and then train them later. So that is, I think that's the biggest benefit from this for me personally, at least that would impact my gameplay. All right, that was fun. Matterall, welcome to the channel.
Hey.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Well, we were talking about this yesterday. I haven't had a chance to look it over, but it looks really helpful. We were talking about, though, the whole philosophy of training into ships and some of the assumptions that go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
We were kicking around the idea that anybody should be able to fly any ship, just not very well if you haven't trained up for it. So your example about being able to fly the catalyst, but not being able to really manage the energy that the catalyst needs to do its job properly. Extending that to say, yeah, you can jump into a ship, you just can't operate it properly.
Is the Praxis a good example of that? So like the Praxis is the not SOE, the what's that other race?
Smart bomb or the
No, the Gnosis. The Praxis, the Gnosis, and the Synesis. They're all those three ship types.
I know what you're thinking of. It's the League of, like, yeah, we call them the Jovian Corporation, basically.
Yeah, so those guys, this ship just requires Spaceship Command 1. So anybody, day one, you can jump into a Praxis. People abuse this like crazy, which is awesome in my opinion. But yeah, anybody can jump into this thing. Is it causing any problems? Because playing devil's advocate, you make that recommendation to me. I'm like, Wallet Warrior is going to come in on day one. They're going to throw a bunch of plex at the game to buy a carrier. They're going to jump in that carrier out in low sec, and they're going to do nothing with it and die. Now, to a certain extent, you want to say that's cool. To another extent, you're going to say that's a terrible experience for the player, and they're going to quit. How do we land on that? Do we think the Praxis is a good supporting evidence to say you can have this sort of mechanic in the game and it doesn't lead to players quitting?
No, I think if you're coming into a game and you're throwing a bunch of money at it, you've done some research. I don't think you're just going to throw your money away, especially when people tell you, hey, it's complicated, you can't just do that. And you'll probably hear that before you do it. So not really worried about that. I am worried about how you can stamp gameplay. So somebody can basically say, here's get into this ship and here's the skills that you need, and now just hang off this structure and deploy your drones, and you can multiply that by 50 people. I can see that becoming really easy to do, but I don't see how that's much different than I think time gating people out of a carrier, for instance, has some value, but not very much, because you can just buy a character off the bazaar, or if you're motivated enough, if it's about money, you can just buy the skill points that you need.
Mhm.
That sort of a thing. So it's not that persuasive. But what we're talking about here is time gating people out of larger ships, when a battleship and using it has nothing to do with the carrier and how you use it. Or even a destroyer, how you use a destroyer versus how you use a battleship. You really don't need to learn how to use a destroyer before you need to learn how to use a battleship, for instance.
Yeah, and if anything, like the skills aren't particularly transferable. With the way that you would pilot a frigate in combat is very different from the way that you would pilot a battleship. With a frigate, you want to have max transversal. With a battleship, you want minimum transversal.
Right. You want to
So
stand still and shoot things.
I can feel where you're coming from. There's still the part of me that's like, I don't want a player to join Eve, think, oh my word, like when I first joined, the sacrilege was amazing. My end goal was what's the Alliance tournament one? I forget what it's called. Malice, maybe? No, that's the frigate. Somebody in chat will remember. But the Alliance tournament sacrilege hull with the newts and the missiles and the really cool ship. That was my goal.
Dude. Yeah.
So I jump into that and I want to fly it. I manage to get the hull, I jump into it, and I try it out, and it's utter garbage. Of course it's garbage, because I don't have the skills to support it. But do I know that the problem is my lack of skills? Or do I think, well, I just misjudged, this ship isn't actually good?
Again, there's going to be a minimal amount. Nobody's going to come into this game and say, well, I'm just buying myself into a battleship, or I'm just going to get myself into a battleship and undock it. And if they do, they find out kind of the hard way. I don't think you would go into anything too expensive without at least knowing the fundamentals of, there's a certain expectation of skills you need to use the ship properly. We already have that, but it's in conjunction with time gating into ships, which people can bypass with injectors or even accelerators, or by sitting out. That's usually what happens. People sit out till they're baked into a certain ship, and they use alternatives, smaller roles in the smaller ships, different roles in a fleet, in order to wait for their logistics baking to happen. That sort of thing. I didn't want to detract too much, just that we were talking about the philosophy of skilling into ships in general. And because I think having that sandbox freedom has a value to it as well. So, being able to come into this game and say, like, well, if I can ISK afford a ship, I should be able to fly it. There shouldn't be
Shouldn't have to
anything
wait.
blocking me. Yeah.
I can appreciate that philosophy and that perspective. I suspect we're going to land somewhere in the middle, as with most things, where that perspective has some value, but there's value from a counterpoint. Because the training time is a core feature of the way Eve works. Like,
Yeah.
Try to translate that from, instead of flying ships, to building ships. There's a lot of training involved, especially once you get into T2 production, capital production, reactions, stuff like that. We want to use the same logic and say, as soon as I join the game, I can do T2 production. I think that kind of breaks things. And I think if we were able to have this conversation for long enough and drill down to what is the root cause for what makes it different between ships and the industry, or ships and production, or what have you, then we'd find what that counterbalance is. Shout out to Rhea from Twitch chat for correctly realizing that it was the Vangal I was talking about, which is the epic ship that I've always wanted to fly. What was I going to say? Close all tabs. Is that a new pop-up? That's a new pop-up. I like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Back to the skill queue.
Yeah.
What else should we talk about here? Like, the corporate, I think, would be a great ad. To the detractors who say, meh, let the corporations and alliances do it on their own. I can understand your perspective. I just disagree with it.
Yeah,
and we'll leave that there. Philosophical question about Eve at all. Suck it up because there's a lack of support for skills. I don't quite understand your point. I'm sorry.
No, I think Eve is different for many reasons. One of them was that you could walk away from the game for a period of time and still feel like you're making progress. That's one
Yeah,
of the few games that does that.
that is a great point. Because like Elder Scrolls Online is the only other MMO I've ever put serious amount of time into, and with that, your skills are skill points that you get by roaming around the map and finding these crystals that you suck up the skill points, which is an active gameplay. You have to go find those things. So it is very much, there is no passive gain other than you have crafting materials delivered to you every day. But the skill training is definitely a buff to that. Same thing with industry though too, right?
Yeah. I was gonna hit industry actually, but go ahead. What's your thought here?
I was gonna let you run with it. What's your perspective on industry?
Well, you mentioned a comparison between skilling into ships and industry, and in industry, you essentially can build, 60% of the game day one. You walk in and you can build. I actually talked to somebody as a side here. A serious person who basically said, "Yeah, I built my own Titan." Which was basically an alliance level build, right? You need a lot of people doing a lot of work over a long period of time. And she said, I just gave away part of the information there. She said, yeah, I built some ammo first, and then I built like a battleship, and then I built a Titan. And I was like, that's ridiculous. Because the concepts were all the same. It's just minerals. The Titan does have subparts, but based on minerals. So it really was a brute force. Have enough minerals, have enough time, you can build this thing. There are some skills involved, I should say there. But concepts are the same. Not true with EVE Online. Every size ship has a different role, has a different way of flying it. So you're not prepared to do, say, a battleship, let's say, again, if you've been flying a frigate. They fly differently. They are advantaged differently. In fact, opposite. As you were saying, when you're in a small ship, you want to move fast, you want to dodge bullets. Where in your big ship, you want to sit still. So you're not moving trying to hit a moving target too. That double complicates what you're trying to do. Totally different concepts. But with building, there's pretty much there was a very flat production line in that you come into the game and you can pretty much build anything. Now it's a little more complicated. The bigger you get, the more types of ingredients you have to get. That's a new thing. It wasn't like that before. I think when I was comparing, like, you should come into the game being able to being able to fly anything up to maybe a certain degree. Seems like to give you the most amount of freedom without really allowing you to participate. That's just like industry. You can come into it and you can pretty much build almost anything. There really are no, if you have the blueprint, you can build it. If you have the blueprint, you have the ingredients, you can build it. So you just can't build it efficiently, right? What you're actually skilling up in industry is efficiency. And so why not extend that to ships? What you're actually skilling into is performance.
Okay. I mean, the Praxis as an example, if the Praxis didn't exist and people weren't already doing this with the Praxis, I would be hardcore against this idea. And I think maybe capitals are to a level where I probably just me being a bitter vet, not wanting some like bright-eyed new bro to be able to jump into a capital straight away. Who knows? Yeah. But part of me really thinks that for subcaps, sure. At the very least, any T1 subcap, I would agree. Why require the skills? I think you're right. I think that makes sense.
You could gate any jumping ship with some kind of license from Concord.
Like the old pause licenses. Oh man, not again.
It would be that you could time gate. You could basically say, no, you need to pay a certain amount, or you need to wait a certain amount of time, in order for you to jump something. But if you want to just fly it.
We got somebody in the chat asking about stuff with CCP recommended corporations and some drama with Ashtarothi and like his take on it. I'm gonna ask him to send us a link so we can take a look. Do you know off the top of your head what that looks like?
I'm sorry, I was talking to Ash yesterday, but the drama that he was referring to as like internal drama. I think there is new drama, but I think it was a misinterpretation. I'm sorry, I can't speak to it because I'm not involved with it.
Oh, I can tell from the link title that it's just actual drama. People are drumming up drama about the way Ashtarothi was communicating, so I'm not going to care about that. I thought it was referring to the specific CCP recommending Corps, which is a question that I had. Let me get back to the dev blog.
Well, we can speak to that actually without including Ashtarothi's view on it.
Yeah.
And that is, and I was at eVegas having this. Well, we were in one of those workshop rooms with CCP Ghost and I think it was Larrikin actually, just the two of them. And somebody asked, like, why can't you help us? Why can't you recommend places to go? We want to belong to a group, but we don't know who to choose. We don't know anybody from anybody. And they frowned and basically said, we're really sorry. We can't do that because we can't weigh in. We can't vouch for a group. Because it opens up too many. It's a Pandora's box for them. It opens up too many avenues for people to say, why them and not us? And they just don't have the manpower to deal with the differentiation between corporations. But they've done it sort of with partnerships. They've said, here's our criteria for partnership, and we're a partner. And so is someone like Shen, who's a part of TIS, and someone like Arcia, who's really well known for RPing, and Sutonia. These are all partners. But we all get the same rewards. So TIS gets the same rewards that Arcia gets, that Shen gets. And that's not really fair because we're a group effort and they're a singular effort. On the other hand, the requirements even speak to being a single streamer, not necessarily a group or, or even, sorry, not a streamer, but a writer or someone who puts together a third-party application. To be a third-party applicant as a partner is very difficult. It requires a certain amount of activity and traffic in your tool. Whereas as a streamer, you have to put in a certain amount of hours with a certain amounts of audience. Not even audience share, but audience numbers. So the point is, there's so much variation in that one program, and that's just to partner with EVE enthusiasts. Mm-hmm. So imagine in the game, where everybody's supposed to be equal in the eyes of CCP, what kind of criteria do you put down, and how do you measure an alliance like EVE University and being fair and true to them at the same time working with a group like, I don't know, a newbie group that collects a lot of people. I don't know who that is, what the flavor is this month. It's just different. So they can't do it. But they said you can do it as players. But the players are saying, we don't know how to do that. Like, we can't, how are we supposed to do that?
And especially when you get into the idea of what has unfortunately become commonplace in the discourse around the meta of EVE Online, which is the culture of a particular group. And whether that culture or that their way of going about playing the game is destructive. I'm going to remove the names to avoid firing up too many nerds. But like, let's say there are two big groups and they both have new player organizations, right? But this group over here thinks that this new player organization feeds into their larger block. And they think that their larger block has a gameplay culture that is toxic and they don't like it and it's not good for EVE Online and should go away. Well, then this group thinks that this new player organization feeding into that culture is a problem and CCP should not recommend them. But CCP thinks, what are you talking about? This new player corp, they teach new players how to play the game. They've got great retention. Nobody's had like bad experiences with their leadership. They sound good to me. But these players are like, no, it's feeding into this bad cultural vibe that's ruining the game. Like, once you start going down that path, it's freaking impossible. So I 100% agree. It an endorsement. Pandora's box.
Yeah. It's a tacit endorsement of a group. And when you endorse as an authority figure of CCP, who's supposed to really be, they're supposed to be space. They're supposed to be Mother Nature. They're supposed to be God, if you will. They're not supposed to endorse or bless any particular group, is especially inside the game. And outside the game, it's a little bit different. So, okay. Yeah.
I can see, so there was a reference that was brought up in the Twitch chat to one of the EVE Academy things This one was specifically the Explorer blog. And down at the bottom of their Eve Academy blog, they've got community resources. And they're sort of calling out specific resources below have been created by capsuleers in the Eve Online community. And so you can go check out these different resources. And is this similar to promoting that content? So if, as an example, this refers to Ashy. We know Ashy, we've worked with them before. We're fine with the content that Ashy produces. We like Ashy as a human being. We think Ashy is not destructive to the game. But what if somebody disagrees with us and now they see Ashy's blog is being recommended here? Is that a problem?
Well, Ashy happens to be a CEO of Foxholers, I believe. And so when you take somebody that talks with authority about a subject, the next question is, oh, how do you know? Oh, you're in charge of a group. Oh, can I join that group? And so there is a slippery slope that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So CCP is very careful in how they do this, but you'll see that everything that is done by Ashy and anyone involved usually doesn't recruit right out of it. And that's probably the line that they're holding to, I would imagine.
I mean, they even have like Signal Cartel, Eve Uni, Snoopy Newbies, Convocation
Right.
of Empyreans. Like their corps are down here as resources. Now, the thing that interests me is the drama that comes up from recommending corporations in the new player experience. The way that people communicate that to CCP that I've seen, and the way that I understand what people are asking for, is they want CCP at the end of the tutorial to say, hey, congrats, you know a little bit about Eve. You know it would be good for your career joining up with some other players. Here are some groups of players that you should consider joining. And I think that is a fundamentally different thing than, hey, you just learned a lot about a specific topic. Here are some groups whose gameplay revolves around that topic. I think those are two fundamentally different things. And so This is borderline, like this is definitely in a gray area, but isn't problematic, whereas saying you should go join this group is. Thoughts?
By the way, you might want to do a hair check because I think it's scraping your mic or something. I could hear a little static.
Oh no, it is raining outside, so you're hearing it pelting my window. I apologize.
Wow, that's what. All right, different parts of the country. Wow. Rephrase your question.
Okay, is it a fundamentally different thing to take a new bro and say you finish your new bro training? Next thing for you to do in your Eve career is join a corp. Here are corporations we recommend. Versus you've got a blog with a bunch of training resources. At the bottom of that blog, it says, hey, you've learned some stuff. Here are some corporations that put these things into action. This is part of the gameplay they do in Eve, and they may be a resource for you. Are those two things fundamentally different?
Yes, they're not, I wouldn't say fundamentally different, but they're different enough to have some breathing room. When CCP endorses a group in the game, that is like 100% seal of approval. You can trust them. And for the group that has that endorsement, that's a great opportunity for them to get recruits that would not otherwise have bumped into them in some way to know about them. In here, I think where you just recommend resources from groups that have done that is, one, they've demonstrated a service to the game. I imagine they're not talking about how they do things. They're talking about how something is done. So it's in service to the game, not necessarily their branding. And I think there's enough room there that somebody could read, say, in this example, Ashy's wormhole guide and say, I want to do wormhole stuff. I've learned a bit from Ashy. Where can I find a wormhole group? Well, now I can use the tool that CCP has to find a wormhole group. So you take the subject out and you're able to make your own decision on participation, as opposed to that direct injection from CCP saying these guys particularly.
Yeah, I think I'm tracking on what you're saying, and I think I agree with it.
Yeah, the thing is, they want to leave that to players, but players haven't been able to come up with it, right? You don't have a Eve University list of corporations that are endorsed. We talked about doing that.
Yeah, we even
right?
tried to do that in TIS ourselves, but we
Yeah.
could never make it work.
Well, we had to build the academy first, which took a lot of labor, and people got busy. I wasn't capable of doing it, so I didn't make it something that I could focus 100% of my attention on. But the idea would have been to create an academy that does what you remember Agony Unleashed, right? They were really good at doing
Mhm.
Wolfpack
And the
classes.
videos and yeah.
And they did, well, now you have YouTube, so it's a different world back 10 years ago when they were active. But so now you want to know how to play Eve or how to Wolfpack, you basically watch it on YouTube and then you try to mimic what you see. But it's a whole nother experience to actually get in there with different variables and different situations. So a Wolfpack class, I think, still has some merit. Now you might get that out of a purple fleet that's like a community-based fleet that anybody could join and go and do something without any pressure. But I think something more structured, something more not just how to fly through space, but how, here's your stalking instincts, here's your evasive action instincts, these kinds of things in the real world. If you could do a curriculum on that, where you could say, you have to do class 1 before you can do 2 or 3. And then if you accomplish 3, we could arrange some kind of fleet participation with a known FC, like a Pando or a Pro God or whoever. And that would be an experience that would give you a chance to fly with a really excellently named celebrity FC in a low stress environment. And that was the idea. That was the draw. And you would build an academy of people who had at least some experience. And then the opposite would be to vet, just like a fund would vet businesses, saying this business is doing the right kinds of things with management. They have the right resource lines. These guys look like a positive prospect. And we could do that because we're subjective, and we can be, unlike CCP. And so then you have a list of endorsed or qualified corporations, and then you essentially put those two things together. And that was what we were looking at a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, in service to what we expected to be a lot of new players coming in.
Fair enough. It is interesting. While you were chatting, some of the Twitch chat was lolling at you mentioning ProGod and no stress fleets in the same sentence.
Which
is an interesting thing to call out. Like it complicates even this very dialed back, this very narrow focus idea of let's have a training academy fleet. There's still a whole load of gray area in there of you've got a really skilled fleet commander who runs really successful fleets, but do you want this to be the fleet commander for your people who are trying to train? Can they do, like, if the tone in their normal fleets is different from the tone in their other fleets, like what's the feel there? I think it just goes to show how difficult of a problem this is to solve, how many gray areas there are, and why CCP is so hesitant to do it.
Sure. Well, you could produce a menu, like heroes, right? This hero is very strong. This hero is very fast. This hero can hide in the dark. And you could, say, look, a Pando type FC is good in these ways.
Mm-hmm.
A ProGod FC is good in these ways. And you can even, if you wanted to, talk about a little bit of personality in there as well. This person is a quiet.
Personality is huge to it too. Like, especially in nullsec fleets, there's so much of that is just waiting around doing nothing. My perspective, I could be wrong. You as F1 monkey number 2003 may have a different perspective, but for me, a big part of the FC that I fly with and whether I join their fleets is, are they entertaining or do they get out of the way? Like, either you want an entertaining FC who you enjoy listening to their banter and they're talking with the fleet, or you want an FC or an FC who has a quiet channel where you can go to the quiet channel and just not care, watch Netflix on the other screen until the fight kicks off. The European style. So that is like also another thing which you'd have to consider. Do you want an American style FC teaching classes because you want the people to learn, like, hey, fleets can be fun while you're waiting? Or do you want European style where, like, hey, Eve can be chill until action kicks off and then you refocus?
Right. Is this an Iceman FC or is this a Maverick FC? There's definitely different styles. And the reason I thought of Pando and ProGod Legend is because I was thinking in terms of small ships and bombers, and you had the Goku fleet that ProGod pioneered, and then you have the similar Stuka fleet that Pando pioneered. They're both
Mhm.
bomber fleets. Guys can get into these fleets, and those are the two FCs that popped into my head that were opposite of one another. So,
And if for those listening, if those terms are new to you and you want some fun, just look up the Goku fleet naming legal battle or whatever. It was a hilarious propaganda
that's
thing
right.
over the
Yeah.
time.
There's a copyright on the concept.
Yep.
That was pretty funny. There's been some good fun. But again, the idea is CCP endorsing, they can't, they won't, that'll never happen. And it's up to players to create the actual structures in the sandbox. CCP only provides the sand. Or these days, we call it the litter box because we're kind of joking around with some of the stuff you might find in EVE.
Yeah. And I think even though we say we don't want CCP to recommend, there is still the extent to which CCP can improve the way that they make things discoverable. Like, it is a common complaint to hear about the current corporation UI, where it's impossible to find a good corp, and the way that you effectively have to rely on outside player resources or word of mouth to hear about a corporation, because it hasn't been iterated on in forever, and the mechanics are broken. So I'm not going to go into detail. Plenty of people have in the past. Suffice it to say, mostly the time zone selection and the way that you choose what things your corporation does really plays with stuff. They don't have a good algorithm, so to speak, to use the common parlance. And I would love to see CCP iterate on this as the next step in improving the new player experience. So CCP doesn't have to recommend new corps. If they instead have a new revamped new player experience, then at the end of it, kick you into a revamped corporation browser that is much better in terms of discoverability. That I would appreciate.
Yeah, I've joked about this, and I guess I won't go into that joke about finding your group or finding your partner through an app. But the idea of what they can do at Christmas time, right, or at the end of the year, to say, hey, this is your EVE year. We've collected data on you, and this is your percentile of participation in these things, right? You guys remember those videos that came out. So if you could extrapolate that kind of work towards a group, saying these people are all part of these corporations, you could basically find the characteristics of a corporation. This corporation does a lot of gate camping. This corporation does a lot of industry. And at the very least, you could say this is an industrial corporation because that's what they do. That's where they spend their time. Or this is a PvE corporation because that's what they do. That's not what they say they do. It's actually what they do. It's what their members do.
Yeah, like build off the activity tracker, which is what popped into my head as something that you could utilize to, like, okay, the members of this corp, where are they in terms of what they do in their activity tracker, sort of thing. Somebody I do want to call out, they really hit the nail on the head with their comment in chat. It was Yves Ledoart, who said, what is a good corp, ? In real life, what is a good employer, ? That's fundamentally up to every individual to find out. And I agree. I think that's the reason. What's that?
But you have websites by people who crowdsource reviews, right? Like Glassdoor, for instance.
Yeah, so I guess this brings up an interesting question on what's the difference between a recommendation and good discoverability? Because I would consider like an Indeed or a Glass, whatever that one's called. I forget. I just remember Glasses. You start typing Glass and Google will recommend. Glassdoor, thank you. Yeah. Like, they will recommend as a good employer based on certain metrics, which is what we've already established is not something CCP should be doing. But is it fine to go and present those metrics in terms of allowing people to edit filters and do some sort of discoverability with UI, but just don't make that step to say this person is good, this person is bad, this person is recommended? Is that the step that's the cutoff point? We say that's not okay?
I think it's a great point. If you say this is 0 to 100% of activity, then you just have a metric. You don't have an analysis of that metric. You don't say if that's good or bad. You just say it is. You get into trouble when you start to say this is endorsed. That's the marker.
And maybe you have like a of the percentage of groups which self-selected and say, hey, we're a PvP group, this is where in the graph they land. So they're a top 1% of PvP groups on this metric, sort of like they do in that year-end thing.
That's where you get into trouble, because all this can be gamed, right? Like you can say, 2 guys out of the corporation just go and PvE all day long, and they're doing it to raise their ADMs, let's say, you know. But here they're doing it to raise their profile. But that tells you that they have a desire to find more PvEers, because that's who they're going to end up attracting, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. You know what that might do is create a recruitment drive for PvPers for groups that don't actually PvP that much. Like, you know how groups want an FC because they need a guy to provide content for others? Well, they may actually say, we need an FC, but we also need people to actually go with that FC to do PvP because we want to attract PvPers. And that would be an interesting economy of labor that people would get into.
Interesting indeed. Any final thoughts? We've been going here for quite a while. Twitch chat has let us know time and again that we've got a lot of things that we're sort of touching on here at a high level that would be great for their own sort of separate deep dives. And so before I frustrate them to no end and to allow me to eat, I think I'm going to call it here in a few. But definitely any final thoughts you got before we head on out?
No final thoughts. I would agree that the stuff that we like to talk about, the stuff that we chew on, the advanced players, is very, I don't know, high level thinking, I guess, and probably the nuts and bolts that you need to know should be on a separate show. So I don't know, it depends. But I just want to say good job. I was going to jump in and help you earlier, but you were doing so great. I just didn't want to bother you. I watched the whole thing and you did fantastic.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. By the way, those that don't know that are watching today, Artimus is the CEO of Talking in Stations now. So for those that don't know, he is in charge.
Well, I ask a lot of people to help with a lot of things. I'm not sure if in charge is a... Don't read too much into it. I still can't tell Matterall what to do. I do want to quickly plug, if you are interested into more of the new player experience and how that went, the main impetus behind me doing this stream is because on tonight's daily show at 23:59 Eve time, we're going to be doing a deep dive on this new player experience. And so I wanted to get hands-on with it so I could have an informed opinion and so I could provide the staff with some materials to reference during the show. So certainly if this is a topic that interests you and you want to talk some more about the new player experience or hear some more experts discuss it, definitely tune in tonight, 23:59 Eve time. Promotion, ban democracy. I don't understand Space Octopod. So with that confusion, we're going to end the show. See you guys a little bit later tonight. Thanks for coming on, Matterall.
Good night. Thanks.